problems and relationships with ivory. Who are the Yoruba? The Yoruba people live in a number of kingdoms over the past 9 centuries, including Ife, Oyo, Awa, and Yoruba people are an important group of people. They have a certain connection with ivory. Yoruba people was known as one of the biggest groups in Africa, and once the Atlantic Strait slave trade began, the Yoruba people of Benin, Nigeria, and Ghana were forced to go along and be transported as slaves to America. But we can say that they have gone through a lot over the time, as their time being in Ghana, and experienced a lot. The Yoruba people are from, I would like to say they're more West Africa. And this is very important because there is one particular landmark that is in the area or in the proximity that they are from. That's called the Ivory Coast. Since they're from Ghana and they're in the Ivory Coast, this is where ivory was mostly transported and exported from. And this is important because this made it easier for them to have access to ivory. So, like, it's important because it helped them create more art and influence the world through their work with ivory. The Yoruba people is important because they are a very well known group of people, and they're well known because of their artistic achievements and their use of making like terracotta heads and certain masks and items to represent certain political levels within their tribe. They also use ivory as a certain type of purity, like because ivory represents pure, being pure and things of that nature. So it is very important to have ivory in their culture. Culture is something that helped them grow as a society. Yoruba people relationship with ivory is very important because they relate ivory with being pure, like I said previously, and they use it as a hierarchy of power. But they also use it to talk about a very special individual that they call the sea. It's a sea god called Olokun. I don't know if I pronounced it correctly, but Olokun is representation of the ruler of the sea for the Yoruba people. Olokun is related to fertility, healing, wealth, and abundance. Also being the keeper of secrets and responsible for guiding the spirits into the afterlife. This is represented by certain ivory carvings where Olokun is illustrated with various sculptures and different forms of art. Olokun is very important for the Olokun is an androgynous figure who can be either gender male or female. And that's very important because it shows that they're different in this society. Olokun wears a beaded necklace and kind of has a dark blue hair, and she's kind of depicted as a pure entity. That's why they relate Olokun with ivory. And so, with that being said, it has many more than what I said previously meanings to represent this deity. Olokun is still heavily worshipped by the Yoruba people to this day. Yoruba people use bowls and little objects to hold items of importance. These bowls were known as vessels and would be usually be viewed as a great example of generosity within a culture. And then the level of craftsmanship that's used could make a kingdom better. Being genuine, being genuine with their creativity help gains the trust of other political parties and bring peace among others. This is a great example called the ivory vessels of the Yoruba Owo Kings. This is a very important piece as well because the imagery of it. shows the ruler's ability to span. As a ruler, I mean like the king of that time, because they use aquatic and terrestrial life to show human and divinity among this piece. So as you can see, it's kind of like mugfish and different animals at the bottom to describe the king and how they're powerful and they're pure. That's why things that are important are held within this vessel. Next slide, we have the bracelet. The bracelet is important because, as you can see, this represents certain carvings within it. This piece of jewelry is also shown to have a high status. But as you look closely, that is like a great example of Olukun, who is carved within the bracelet. It's more so stylized because they have no genuine picture of what this deity looked like, because it's somebody that they praise. So they kind of make it look like a more stylized piece of art. And this is highly important because this also doesn't just have the mugfish, because mugfish is a level of abundance. They also have picture of crocodiles, and like that's why I say that the human figure is more so stylized. I think it's to represent Olukun. But yeah, as we speak about, mugfish, they're known for their abundance because of how big they are, and they have little stingers on them to show like a shark or something. Like it just shows a great level of power and like quality and quantity within an individual. This is also another piece that is very important. It might not represent Olokun, but it does represent a level of power. This right here is the Orophenrum costume attachment. It's the ram head. It still has a certain aquatic life on it, such as crocodiles, and represent rams that are put on the outfit that's connected to it. This ram head is only worn by a chief of high status for very important ceremonial things that shows the strength within, or like the exterior, that the chief is a very important individual in their way of life. That's why I say the ivory. That's why I said previously that the ivory is very important to represent political power and status within an individual. So we can say that this piece right here has the horns that stick up, and you can see it has a different curvatures and things like that. This was definitely carved to be worn. That's why it's kind of yellow and stuff, but it's a very interesting piece to actually understand that it was used to represent power. The Yoruba people has faced various problems over the years, but faced one thing that was very detrimental: overhunting. The overhunting of the ivory impacted their entire way of life, causing the decline of the elephants. The ivory trade is the main reason for this. It caused so many problems with people who weren't even a part. These problems were caused by people who weren't even a part of the trade, such as poachers who were seeking to get ivory, illegally. This was sad to hear because the overhunting ruined the ecological balance in the Yoruba region. In the beginning, how the Yoruba people were in Ghana and it was on the trade coast, that didn't mean anything. There would still be conflict among the societies slash cultures, because it would be certain access to ivory, such as one area gaining more access to the ivory than another community. Some groups would gain more access to the hunting grounds or the trading networks. So some wouldn't even be able to trade, to export and import as easily as another community. And this will build up more problems within one another. And during the colonial era, such as the Europeans coming in to trade with the ivory with the Ivory Coast and the Ghanaians and things of that nature, they would try to find the ivory within the African communities. And this right here is causing more and more of an issue, and them doing so contributed and caused more harm to the environment than they believed. This is why ivory should be protected. And there are many ways that the Yoruba people are trying to protect it now. Yoruba people are well known for their artistic capabilities, as I said previously. Yeah, they use ivory, but they have also produced a large number of wood, beads, leather, textile, and other artifacts that are displayed in museums now. So for them to actually deal with the problem of overhunting, poaching, and things of that nature to rid all of that, they're trying to find more sustainable practices. Some Yoruba societies are experimenting with different ways of contributing to their art practices, such as weaving and things, and that. They want to use different types of mediums so they can preserve their cultural traditions without using ivory, because we understand that ivory is a big piece of their tradition. But since the overhunting and everything is causing harm to their environment, they're trying to find something else to deal with it, and a different way to still do what they want to do for their traditions, and a better way to show, like, to keep things alive in their society without having to kill an elephant to get that ivory. Where I talk about the Yoruba people, and I apologize for my stutter, but I get a little nervous when I'm reading this, so I apologize. And I also have another resource at the bottom that's a research that talk about the the conference all about the ivory and the Yoruba people. And I also have the links to the artworks so you can look at it and read more up on it if you want to. They're all ivory pieces, and my name is Demond Scott, and I thank you.